welcome to our first class on leadership. Before we jump into different leadership styles or how to be a great leader, it is important to start with some basic ideas that will help us to understand everything better. So Northouse talks about 7 key ideas that explain what leadership really is and how we study. Okay, so we're gonna go through them together. So it is important to understand that an approach is a general way of thinking that may not be based on empirical research. However, a theory includes a set of hypotheses, principles, or laws that explain a phenomenon. So a theory is more refined and provides a predictive framework for analysis. So let's take a look at the first essential concept of leadership. That's trait. And a trait is a distinguished quality of an individual, right? Those are the characteristics that people have. For instance, confidence, honesty, determination. So in leadership, we often ask, what traits do great leaders have? And for a long time, people believe that leaders were just born with some of these traits. But as we are learning, we know that it's not that simple, right? So the theory or approach focuses on identifying those specific qualities or characteristics that leaders need to have. That idea goes way back. It is also known as the great man theory that was used between 1900 to early 1940s. And by 1990s, we start seeing new concepts for leadership. One of those is emotional intelligence. That's one of my areas of specialization, and I have seen the huge transformation, especially during the past 10 years, where leaders and companies are paying more attention to these type of concepts for leaders. Emotional intelligence, empathy, authenticity, compassion, more like a human-centric approach. Okay, let's move on. Now, let's talk about leadership ability. Leadership ability is the capacity to lead. This could be a natural talent. So some people just seem to have a knack for it, right? But it can also be developed over time through learning, through practice and experience. In other words, even if someone is not a born leader, they can still grow into one. So those are good news for all of you, those of you who are thinking to become leaders, and those of you who want to be stronger leaders. Now, let's move into leadership as a skill. So leadership skill refers to the competency that that's developed to accomplish a task effectively. It is something that you can learn and improve with practice. Skilled leaders are competent, right? They understand the tools, the methods, the strategies needed to carry out their responsibilities successful. Now, leadership as a behavior are what leaders actually do, right, in their roles. So, for instance, they have to take observable actions, things that you can see. So it's more than just abilities or skills. So some leaders tend to be more through task behaviors, which is focused on getting the things done. And there are others that are more relationship behaviors, or either both, right? And relationship behaviors is also called process behavior, which help people feel comfortable, supported, and connected with the group. So ideally, we want to have those both. Now, from viewing leadership as a behavior came to the development of situational theories, right? Situational theories are based on the idea that different situations require different types of leadership behavior. For example, the path goal theory focuses on how leaders use motivation to boost employee performance and satisfaction. And the contingency theory is about matching a leader's style to specific situational factors to be more effective. So unlike traditional leadership, which is top-down and one way, relationship leadership is interactive. It focuses on the connection between leaders and followers. For example, the leader-member exchange theory looks at the quality of the relationship and how they affect outcomes. It focuses on the connection between leaders and followers, right? And the Lippmann-Blumen connectivity leadership, this is emphasize working with followers in a way that affirms their identity and values diversity. So when leadership is seen as a relationship, it becomes something everyone can participate in. So authority and influence can also be shared. Leadership is also the process where an individual influences a group of people to achieve a common goal. So this kind of leadership is an interactive event. It happens between leaders and followers. Influence is central to leadership because leadership affects their followers by directing their energy towards a shared purpose, a goal, and motivating them to work together to reach those goals. Okay, so and let's see, let's move to the next one. So there are kind of new and evolving approaches to leadership and theories too. Visionary or charismatic leadership theories talk about these transformational, leaders that focuses on the process of changing people and organizations for better. And there are also some adaptive leadership, which is to look how leaders help people tackle specific problems or how they face challenges and adjust to change. And the visionary and charismatic leadership, those studies beginning in the 1980s, just as a curious data here. So now other type of theories or leadership is authentic leadership that focuses on that style where you are yourself, where you're really true who you are, your authentic self. Spiritual leadership explores how leaders use, for example, values or a sense of calling or a feeling of belonging to motivate their followers. And then we have servant leadership that emphasizes in caring. Leaders act as a servant, they prioritize the needs of the followers. Then we have gender-based studies that they look at how leaders' genders influence and shapes their leadership. So for instance, we can say how female leaders versus men, leadership styles. And finally, ethical leadership that looks at the leader's characteristics, responsibilities, decision making, and the consequence of those decisions. Now, if we talk about leadership and management, management and leadership, we know that they are not the same thing, right? Management's purpose is to structure, coordinate functions within an organization, and both involve influence. But leadership focuses on the seeking constructive change. They want to bring everybody, they want people to have that vision so they can follow. And management focuses more on maintaining order. So this difference can be seen by that quote that says managers are people who do things right and leaders are people who do the right thing. So what happened here? Wait a minute. Oh, I skipped. Wait, this is the right one. So, well, there are many different approaches to leadership around the world. The definitions and concepts that we're going to discuss in this class are from the American perspective, but it tend to be a little universal. We're going to see some differences later on. But I want to bring to your attention the Globe Studies. This is a website that you can find. And from 2004, they've been looking at the different leadership characteristics, both positive and negative, and they are accepted universally and across different cultures worldwide. So take a look at that because it's very amazing what they do. Now, looking at the dark side of leadership, right? This refers when a leader uses their influence or power to personal gain in destructive ways. These leaders are often seen as toxic, right? And their followers usually end up worse off than before, sometimes having their human rights violated or their leaders manipulate them by playing on their deepest fears. So, you know, we see, that's why we always hear people saying that you quit to toxic managers than to a company. Now, leadership is both complex and multidimensional. So to fully understand this, we need to consider traits, abilities, skills, behaviors, relationship, and the overall process involved. And all these facets come together to shape what leadership really is. Thank you all. See you next time.